CEO mocked the single dad's old chopper, not knowing he owned the airfield she just landed on. Before we begin, imagine being judged in a single glance. Imagine someone looking at your clothes, your vehicle, your bank account, and deciding exactly how much respect you deserve. Now imagine the person doing the judging is about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. If stories about humility, second chances, and unexpected heroes inspire you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every story we share reminds us that character is worth far more than appearances. Now let's begin. The helicopter rattled as it descended toward the small regional airfield outside Ashford Valley. The machine looked ancient. Its paint was faded. Several patches had clearly been repaired over the years. The rotor blades carried the marks of thousands of flight hours. Compared to the sleek executive aircraft parked nearby, it looked like a relic from another era. Inside the cockpit sat 38-year-old Daniel Harper. A single father. A man who hadn't slept more than 5 hours in months. A man whose life revolved around two things: his 12-year-old daughter Lily and the airfield he had spent years quietly building. Daniel adjusted his headset and glanced at the framed photograph attached to the dashboard. It showed Lily smiling beside her late mother. Every flight began with that picture. Every landing ended with it. The memory kept him going. 5 years earlier, cancer had taken his wife Emily. The loss had nearly destroyed him. For months afterward, Daniel moved through life like a shadow. He worked during the day, cared for Lily at night, and silently carried grief that felt heavier than anything he had ever known. Most people assumed he would eventually sell the struggling airfield he inherited from his grandfather. Instead, he fought for it. Day after day. Year after year. When banks refused loans, he found investors. When storms damaged hangars, he rebuilt them himself. When competitors predicted failure, he worked harder. What nobody realized was that Daniel had quietly transformed the tiny airfield into one of the most valuable private aviation hubs in the region. He never advertised it. He never bragged. He never cared what people thought. To him, the airfield wasn't a business. It was family. His grandfather had founded it. His father had expanded it. And Daniel had promised himself he would preserve it for Lily. The helicopter touched down smoothly. Daniel smiled. Another successful flight. Another day closer to securing Lily's future. He climbed out wearing faded jeans, worn work boots, and a simple blue work shirt. Grease stained one sleeve. His hands carried the roughness of years spent fixing engines. Nobody would have mistaken him for a millionaire. Which was exactly how he preferred it. Across the tarmac, a sleek corporate jet was beginning its own descent. Airport staff immediately sprang into action. Luxury vehicles rolled toward the runway. Security personnel adjusted earpieces. Executives hurried into position. Daniel recognized the company logo on the aircraft. Sterling Aerospace. One of the fastest-growing aviation technology firms in the country. He had heard rumors they were scouting locations for a major expansion project. The jet's wheels touched the runway. Moments later, the aircraft taxied toward the executive terminal. The door opened. Out stepped Victoria Sterling. 36 years old. CEO. Business magazine cover star. Worth hundreds of millions. Respected, feared, and admired throughout the industry. Victoria possessed the kind of confidence that made people stand straighter when she entered a room. Her tailored white suit looked flawless. Her dark hair was perfectly styled. Her expression suggested she expected excellence from everyone around her. And usually got it. The welcoming committee rushed forward. Local officials smiled nervously. Investors introduced themselves. Reporters prepared cameras. Victoria barely acknowledged them. Her attention drifted across the tarmac. Toward Daniel. Specifically, toward his helicopter. She frowned. Then laughed. Not loudly. Just enough for nearby executives to hear. That thing actually still flies? Several people chuckled. Daniel heard every word. He simply continued walking. Years of experience had taught him that pride wasn't worth defending. But Victoria wasn't finished. Her eyes moved from the helicopter to Daniel. Then to his clothes. Then back again. She shook her head. Some people really don't know when to upgrade. More laughter. A few employees looked uncomfortable. Daniel paused. For a moment, he considered introducing himself. Then decided against it. The day was already busy enough. Instead, he smiled politely and kept walking. Victoria interpreted his silence as embarrassment. Don't worry, she called after him. Maybe one day you'll be able to afford something built this century. The crowd laughed harder. Daniel stopped again. Not because the comment hurt. But because he suddenly remembered something. Today's board meeting. Sterling Aerospace wasn't merely visiting. They were negotiating. And the property they wanted most happened to belong entirely to him. Still, Daniel said nothing. He simply nodded and walked away. Behind him, Victoria dismissed him from her thoughts. As far as she was concerned, he was just another mechanic. Just another working-class pilot. Just another insignificant stranger she'd never see again. She couldn't have been more wrong. 3 hours later, Victoria entered the main conference room. The space overlooked the entire airfield. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed hangars, runways, maintenance facilities, and acres of undeveloped land. Exactly what Sterling Aerospace needed. Victoria sat confidently. Her legal team arranged documents. Financial analysts prepared presentations. Investors reviewed projections. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The acquisition would be finalized today. At least that's what she believed. The conference room door opened. Everyone stood. Victoria glanced up casually. Then froze. Walking into the room was the same man she had mocked earlier. The same jeans. The same boots. The same calm expression. Daniel Harper. Except now every executive in the room greeted him with respect. The chairman extended his hand immediately. Good afternoon, Mr. Harper. Victoria blinked. Confusion spread across her face. The chairman continued. We appreciate you meeting with us. Since you own the airfield, your approval is obviously essential. Silence. Absolute silence. Victoria stared. Her legal team stared. The investors stared. Daniel calmly took a seat at the head of the table. Not beside it. Not near it. At the head. The realization struck Victoria like a physical blow. The mechanic owned the airfield. The pilot owned the airfield. The man she mocked owned every runway, every hangar, every acre they hoped to purchase. And suddenly, for the first time all day, Victoria Sterling felt uncertain. Daniel opened a folder. Shall we begin? No trace of anger. No trace of revenge. No trace of arrogance. Just professionalism. Which somehow made the situation even worse. Victoria felt heat rising in her face. Her confidence began slipping. Because she understood something terrifying. Business negotiations are difficult. Business negotiations become nearly impossible when you've already insulted the person across the table. And this meeting was only the beginning. The lesson that awaited Victoria Sterling would challenge everything she believed about success, leadership, and the way she treated people. But neither she nor Daniel could have predicted that the greatest challenge wasn't the business deal. It was the unexpected friendship that would form between a grieving single father, a lonely CEO, and a remarkable little girl named Lily. And that friendship was about to change all of their lives forever. To be continued.